Gosh, I need to start recording while while you're saying these gems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, name meaning is tough because you're like you want to have something that's significant, but then it also I like boy names were tricky. We have two girls, and I felt like girl names like there were so many fun like name meanings, but for boys everything was like king or like they all were very similar, but then you wanted something that had a unique sound to it. So Loic is that's really cool that it means
Yeah.
warrior.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how did you guys pick Madeline? I think I know, but I'll let you say
Yeah.
it.
So Madeline is after his my husband Gerard's grandmother. So it was actually a year ago today that we had our baby shower and surprised everybody with a gender reveal because we had said that we weren't going to tell anyone and we weren't going to find out. We
Mhm.
had found out in July, and I was like, how nice would that be if it was after your grandma? And he wasn't against it, but he was like, I like Madison, like Madeline's an old person name. And I'm like, because the only Madeline you know is your grandma, who was like
Yeah.
88 at the time.
Hmm.
And so we named her Madeline. We were able to surprise her at the baby shower, which was a year ago today. And she loved it. Just the absolute best. She loved, baby Mads, grandma Mads, and just the sweetest.
Yeah. Madeline is very cute. I
I
like
love the name. Yeah.
Hmm.
Sherine, are y'all out in Montana? Is that what you said?
Yep. We're in Bozeman, Montana. Yeah.
Nice. All right, Mountain Time Zone repping. Everyone I interact with in the rare disease community is on East Coast time, so I keep joking like I pretty much just like live on East Coast time now. I just like
Yeah.
add 2 hours. So I'm like, all right, mountain.
Yep. Here we are.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so excited to talk to you both today just because um like following like starting to follow lots of different rare moms on the internet, and 'cause that's my algorithm. It just suggests like that's all it does now because it's like clearly figured
Mine
out
too.
what I'm interested in. But yeah, I would just love to hear about your stories and how do you say pecan or like PKAN?
I say pecan.
Hey, pecan, what do
Pecan.
you say, Shireen?
Pecan is generally how we hear it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I think we'll start off like you can each kind of like tag team back and forth about your families, but I mean we can start off on like a lighter note because I know that like in the rare disease world a lot of what we talk about is pretty heavy, but if you want to just start by talking about your child and like how old they are, what some of their favorite things are, maybe what your favorite thing about them is, like their personality.
I'd
Um,
love to hear about Loic. I
yeah.
see him all the time. I'd love to hear about him first.
Yeah. So Shireen, do you want to go first?
Sure. I'm happy to talk about him. So he's currently 4. He'll be 5 in October. And he has always been just the happiest kid. I mean, you see him, anyone he interacts with, he's a very outgoing child. So he always has a big smile. The other day we went to a movie in the football stadium with a couple of our friends, and the whole movie, all he did was just kept giving everyone hugs. Like he wouldn't sit and watch it. He just wants to hug everyone and love on everyone. And so he's just a very outgoing and loving kid, and he's always happy despite, all of his challenges. And in reality, I'm not sure he even realizes that they're challenges yet. And so he's also a jokester. We call him Loki sometimes,
Oh.
god of mischief, because he just thinks it's funny to play tricks on people. He'll hide things. He'll, you know, do things that he tries to make you laugh, and it's a very cute part of his personality. He loves the color red, so any and all things red. He loves the American flag. It's like his absolute favorite thing. We have flags throughout his bedroom now, and he has flag clothes, red, white, and blue, all of it. His birthday party last year was Mickey Mouse and American theme or American flag
I
themed,
love that.
which it was totally cute. And he's obsessed with both of those things. He keeps saying that he wants the same birthday this year. So, uh, but it's great. Also, his favorite food's sushi, which is kind of a unique thing for kids to like. And it's probably because I keep him on a fairly restrictive diet right now just to try and help with lots of things. And so the things that he ends up liking are maybe not kind of the standard macaroni and cheese chicken nuggets and all the other things just because he doesn't get those. But he's no, he's wonderful. He's a light in our life and a lot of other people's too.
Every video I see of him, he's just always smiling.
Yeah, that's
Love
right.
it.
Yeah.
He's super cute. I love the American flag situation. Like
I saw that at Blackford.
4-year-olds get into like really very niche things. Like my daughters are the same way when they're like my oldest is 7 and then the younger one is 3. And the 7-year-old, yeah, like really got into some specific stuff for a while. So that's really cute.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Kayla, do you want to talk about Maddie?
Yeah, Madeline is 8 months now, turning 9. She's just the sweetest, happiest baby. She's been a great sleeper, which we love. She just started purees, so she's loving all things food. And she does also like Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse Clubhouse is her favorite thing. So the new Mickey Mouse Clubhouse Plus. And we're going to Disney next year for my brother's wedding. So I'm so excited to see her see Mickey in real life. And she's just the happiest baby. She just, ah, love her. Love of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's adorable. Both of your kids are just so cute. So yeah, so I'd love to hear about kind of your journey with PKAN, like when you each found out, letting people know who are not aware of what it is, what it is. I know as like rare parents, we're very comfortable with like medical terminology because we have to learn it very quickly as like a crash course. But yeah, just an explanation of kind of how you found out, what it's looked like for your family, and kind of what the implications are of the diagnosis.
Go ahead, Madeline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with Madeline, she was diagnosed at 6 months old, 12 days after her 6 months. We had originally just seen stiffness. So we went to our pediatrician. I thought he was going to think I was crazy. And he was like, I do notice she's a little stiff. Like she would just have this like boxing stance. So we saw a neurologist. We thought it was just going to be hypertonia, started her in early intervention. We had 2 MRIs, sedated MRIs that didn't really show anything, just incidental findings. And then the neurologist recommended that we got genetic testing. So that was back in May. And then we got the call June 12th. We had never heard of anything like it. We weren't expecting anything. And immediately Googled everything. That's how we found Loving Loic and Sherine. And basically, it's an iron buildup in your brain. She's missing an enzyme that breaks that down. So eventually, she'll have some motor issues, issues with speaking, swallowing. She'll be wheelchair bound, require a feeding tube. And that's basically the diagnosis we got. It was a very quick phone call when we got the diagnosis. So everything that we learned after is from research on our own and Loving Loic.
I'm so sorry, Kate. I know it's like still very fresh.
Yeah, but
Uh,
it's been, you know, we're trying every day. We had that week where I mean, absolutely devastated. I had just filmed TikTok the other night about it,
Mhm.
and I didn't think I was going to get so emotional about it. But putting myself back in that day, it's heartbreaking. And we took the week. My husband and I, we just, went back to family and realized what was important. And then it was a random night where I just started Madeline's mission. I'm like, we're gonna find a cure. This is it. We're gonna do it. Um, Not that we had been written off by doctors, but it kind of just felt like they gave us the diagnosis and that was it. This is what she's diagnosed with. This is what you're gonna expect, and that was it. And we're like, we're not accepting this. We're gonna fight. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you have to. Like as a
Yeah.
parent, as a mom, you're like, no, I'm not going to take no for an answer. I'm not going to take this diagnosis as like that's it and that's the end of the line. Um, yeah. And it's incredible that like, this is August, so we're talking. Like it hasn't, it's only been a few months for you guys and how far you've come already.
We have the best support system. It has really been just amazing. We reached out to Sherine, we reached out to Ari's mom. Those were like the two original people that I found, and they had support for us, guidance on where do we go next, and then we just hit the ground running. This is, we're time is of the essence now, and I feel like we're just on the cusp of the medical breakthrough, and we're gonna find a cure for our babies.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so Shireen, you've been in this a little longer, so can you give some context around your journey and where you all are at with everything?
Yeah. And I do want to say, Kate, I mean, it's just so amazing that you found out this early, like incredible. And
Bless.
you
I
have,
There's a reason, I
yeah,
believe.
you have so much ahead of you to be able to, we're going to get there. Like we're right on.
Mhm.
So it's going to happen. I'm confident, like in this next year.
Yeah.
Um, so Loic was a little bit different. He was a tough baby. He cried a lot. He was very colicky, is what we thought it was. There was a lot of sleepless nights. He was someone that always had to be held all the time. And so there was that coupled with he wasn't like pulling himself up on furniture. He wasn't babbling in the same way that our other daughter had. And when I got to, the pediatric appointments, I wasn't checking off those milestone boxes like I normally had. And so I started pushing a little bit, saying, there's just something off. We need to look into it more. And probably because I'm an attorney, I think my doctor was like, okay, we'll do whatever you want. And we did. I mean, we did x-rays, we did what I call all of the really bad genetic tests for like Fragile X and all of these things where I was like, okay, well, we've ruled out all of the really bad stuff and it's none of that. We saw a neurologist. Montana's still pretty small, so we don't have a lot of specialists. And so to go to a pediatric neurologist, we had to go to Billings. We met with her and she was kind of said, neurology, we're still like, it's a new area, but it's probably genetic. Like we don't have a lot of answers yet, but other than that, I think it's genetic. And I felt like that was kind of a cop out. We ended up seeing a different neurologist here in Big Sky, and she diagnosed him with global apraxia at first because, you know, people were saying, well, maybe he's autistic. When you look at Loic, like there's no way. And he's so engaged and interactive with people. I was like, that's definitely not it. And so we got the global apraxia diagnosis, and I was like, perfect. Like, okay, we're going to put him in to more therapies. If it's more intensive, we're going to do PT, OT, speech. I think we had already started in speech and PT at the time. And so we added on OT and figured we're going to just do this very intensively and he'll grow out of it, is what we believed. And then there's a children's hospital that had been involved in some of our earlier genetic tests. And it was the geneticist there that really kind of pushed me to say, hey, would you guys be open to doing exome testing? Not to mention we had gotten an MRI as well. But it was not a T2 weighted MRI. Bozeman, for whatever reason, doesn't have those. And so we just saw delayed myelination on his brain and some fluid behind his adenoids. We're told check back again. In a year, I think we were going to redo it. And then our ENT suggested getting tubes in his ears to kind of help with the balance. And so we did that. And he did start walking about 6 weeks after that. And so we had all of these things lined up when the geneticist said, would you want to do this? And from my perspective at that point, I was like, well, yes, because if we find out what it is, then we can be more supportive of whatever supplements or whatever it is he might need to help further this along in a better way. So we took the genetic test and it took, gosh, I think we did the blood draws in February and we got the results on May 23rd. And right at that time, like a couple days before, we had noticed when Loic sticks out his tongue tremors. And when you look that up, it's the symptoms of Wilson's disease most commonly, which that disorder is a genetic defect, but it's a deficiency in copper. And so you can supplement with zinc and help offset that. And so I had written the geneticist. I was like, I think I figured out what it is. It has to be Wilson's disease because he has the symptom. It's very unique. And she's like, well, we'll just talk about it on the Zoom. And so we got on the Zoom call very much like this. I think I was sitting right here. And my husband was at home with the kids because he stays home. And it was just very much, this is what it is. It's called PKAN. It's not if your child's going to be in a wheelchair, it's when. It's not if he's going to be on a feeding tube, it's when. Most kids don't live beyond the age of 10. And I'm like scrambling, like looking at my computer, trying to Google it while we're getting this news. And it's just, I mean, it's shocking. And I just could not believe that this is what we were being told. I mean, hearing you describe it brings me back, obviously. And I think I took probably a month off of work. I wanted to be home with him. We spent that month kind of grieving what that is and what that means. I don't think I could look at him without crying, but got through that. And I think I was like, I have to do something, just like you, Kait. We can't take no for an answer. We are going to find a solution. Our neurologist was very supportive. She's like, there's all these clinical trials that are coming up. Let's stay on top of that. I'm going to put you in touch with OHSU. Our geneticist had done that already and had that all lined up. And so I started kind of looking into, okay, what are the possible cures for this? And it's gene therapy as being the ultimate cure. So I started the foundation because I knew how to do that as an attorney and start a 501c3. What I didn't know is how to find the team to do all of this. And so I met with a couple of other rare disease parents who people had put me in touch with. And then I just started sending letters throughout like the next few months to every institution, every pharmaceutical company, biotech company, anyone that would be interested in potentially doing a gene therapy for this disorder. And I did it with the anticipation, I'm going to get maybe one or two responses. I'd have to go back and see how many I sent, but UMass Chan, that medical school, and those doctors were the first and only ones to respond. And I spoke with them, and immediately I knew that that was the team that we needed. They have done gene therapy in 8 other disorders successfully, and had this experience. And, my questions were, well, how fast can we do this? And a lot of what they had done is starting from, a disorder that had no research at all. Like there was one, I think, that had just been discovered. And so they're starting from not only figuring out what this disorder looks like and what its symptoms are and how do we solve it, but we need to build a mouse model. We need to do a natural history study. We need to do all of these things. And so that path can be pretty long. And so after telling them about what OHSU had and what it had already accomplished, they're like, well, would they be interested in partnering with us? And in my world, that like finessing relationships between institutions doesn't always work. And so I was pretty nervous about it and whether it was going to work out or not. And so I talked to OHSU, asked them if they would be open to it. And then we put that team together and they hit it off right away. And so it kind of snowballed from there. We have agreements in place as our foundation supporting that project. And then they are working together. It's really OHSU is the lead on it now, with the support of UMass. But I think it's incredibly important as a parent advocacy organization to have us at that table because no one understands the urgency in the same way that we do. And I think while I love all of the doctors and they're doing all the things for all of the right reasons, they've been doing it for so long. And I think that the urgency and what you and I experience, Kait, can sometimes be lost in them on that. And so I probably went longer in terms of finding out the diagnosis and went a little bit further past that. But
I love hearing it.
Yeah, that was the first. I think I started the foundation in June. I put the team together in August, and then we officially kicked off like the fundraising part of it in October of 2023.
It's amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Because immediately once I Googled PKAN, originally what was showing up was they told us that she had the PANK2 mutation, but didn't directly tell us it was PKAN. So in our research, it ended up being that it was PKAN, and you were the first person that showed up. So having that makes you feel less alone. Like we had no clue where to go. We'd never heard of it. We don't know anybody with it. Where do we even turn? And you were the first people. So I'm so thankful for you.
I'm glad. Good. I'm happy. That makes my heart happy. Even if we could have, I think without genetic testing or sometimes the MRIs, it's hard to catch it even earlier. But there's other disorders like Sanfilippo syndrome and things like that where there's characteristics of the children that kind of help make it more recognizable. And you haven't been to OHSU yet, have you, Kate?
No, we have
Uh,
not, but we haven't been there.
okay. And so one thing that they will describe in Loics dystonia, it presents in his face, actually, probably most prominently right now, and it affects his speech, but the way that he smiles, and they'll describe it as that's a PKAN face, is they just have these very kind of exaggerated smiles because it's the dystonia
Interesting.
pulls their face. And I see that, I mean, Loic's just a very smiley kid. I can kind of tell between my two kids the difference, but that would be like the one characteristic that I would say they've pointed out to me as being one associated with PKAN.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting, because I haven't heard that before.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna have to look at her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, baby smiles are cute. It probably would be. Their faces are just so small, so it might be.
Yeah.
But I made that baby video the other day of Loic because I was just kind of looking back at it to see if I could see it now that I know that he has it. And I do, but not, I still don't think I would have thought it was anything worse, than something as simple as he needs to go through more therapies and he just has off balance. And
that's what we were thinking originally. Like the worst things that when I was Googling, and I have messages with my husband of me like going through the whole thing, like spiraling, and he's at work and she's in the bath and then I'm feeding her. And the worst thing was hypertonia. And I'm like, oh my gosh, if she has hypertonia, what am I going to do? We have to get her in PT. We have to get all this. I never imagined that this would be the diagnosis. And it just, now when I look back, even though I noticed it at the time, I just, oh, she's just a stiff baby. She wasn't like a cuddly baby, and she still isn't. I think she just likes to be like up. She likes to stand now. She's willing to stand. Like she just wants to be up. But when I do look back at those videos, I notice it. Like it's just, she wants to be like this. And I'm happy that I went and said something, because I feel like if this had been 2 years, 3 years, I really would have been guilty for not. And I am so thankful to our medical team. When I spoke to other rare disease moms, and they say that their pediatricians and their other doctors have just blown them off. I had a conversation with our pediatrician the other day, and we hadn't spoke to him since we got the diagnosis. I called him. So he had been aware, but in all the social media stuff and all the fundraising, he just got lost, and we haven't been back to our 9-month well visit. And I just said to him, thank you. Because if it wasn't for you, if you had just blown me off, we would be 2 years down the line and we wouldn't have the time to cherish with her. So I said, thank you so much. And of course he's like, I couldn't have blown that. And I'm like, but seriously, like there are so many other moms that they don't get a diagnosis. Their doctors blow them off. They say that it's nothing, reevaluate in 3 months. And we don't have 3 months, we don't have years to wait on it. So I'm so thankful. It just, I never thought that it would be that diagnosis, and neither did he.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I never even heard of it until it happened, and no one tested for it because it's 1 in a million, literally.
Yeah.
That you would never know. So ironically enough, and I haven't talked a lot about this, but I do think we had another family member that had PKAN. My dad is from Sri Lanka, and my cousin, he has since passed. He passed away when he was 14, but he was misdiagnosed, I believe, with cerebral palsy.
Wow.
And now that we know, like, we can see all of the same symptoms. And he so much reminds me of Loic now that I see it.
But it's only once
Only once.
Never would have guessed. If we had a child before her that didn't have it, we never would have known.
Right.
With the genetic testing, it just, now that we're carriers, now we know you can do IVF, but you don't know.
That's right.
It's heartbreaking to hear like this story and to hear you both talk about it, but it's also like similar to so many stories I've heard in the rare community, including like in some ways our own, like the feelings of not being, heard by your doctor or knowing or feeling that something is going on, but not being sure about it, or those feelings of feeling grateful for your medical team and feeling like there were people that heard you when you were advocating or when you were saying something doesn't look right. Also, that feeling of like you don't think that it's going to be this thing. We had that same kind of thing with Gilbert, where it was like his initial thing was low glucose. And it was like, well, sometimes babies have low glucose and so, we'll put them in the NICU, we'll stabilize them. And there were so many times where we were about to get discharged and then it just kept being the thing where it was like, well, this is really, really it would be really unlikely for this to be the thing that it is. And then it turns out it's that thing that is the most unlikely possibility. And it kind of messes with you because you're told so many times like, oh well no, that the chances of that are really unlikely, like it's probably not this, it's probably something else, and then you're like, no, it turns out it is the
Yeah.
extremely rare thing. I mean, PKAN sounds like it is even more rare than BARS if it's one in a million across genders. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the statistic technically is 1 to 3 in 1 million. I think I have it on the website as 3 in 1 million to make it less confusing. But yeah, it's very rare, and there's diagnosed out there too. So
Apart from the two of you, who else are you connected with in the community?
So I'm friends with Aria's mom, Vanessa. It was really just you two that I had found originally and the ones that I've connected with. There's a few others, like there's a Facebook group. I'm not super active on it. I've scrolled posts and I've liked posts, but those are really just the two. You're the two people that I found immediately.
amazing. I mean, I've gotten a lot more as I've continued on this journey. I will say, Kate, I am not good at social media. So you've seen, I've been dabbling in TikTok
I love it.
it's way easier for me to make those videos and then just repost it, which
Yeah.
I'm really learning, but I'm very bad at it. And so I've met a lot of other parents through the PKAN Facebook group, the parents group. Um, I ebbed and flowed in my involvement in it sometimes just because I didn't want to deep dive a lot of times because it's a historical page. So it could have parents and families who had kids 10 years ago that they have since lost. And there's a whole group, of that ranges on that page. And it's an incredible source for information, but it can be very hard. And so
Yeah.
there's
Very heartbreaking to see.
very heartbreaking to see. But I'm close with quite a few of the parents. Noreen Jessup, you've seen, I have some of the other PKAN families on the website, and so I've talked with all of them about their stories. Noreen's become a close friend. She came up to Montana last year to help us with the gala and prepare a video and talk about her story. She lost all three of her children, which I cannot. I don't know how she continues on, but she's an incredible person. Um, I stay close and I talk there's a mom in Switzerland who has a little girl she's 4 as well. There's another mom, gosh, I'm trying to remember her location. I have quite a few overseas that I connect with and talk to as well. And they just have, different insight from different medical systems and OHSU is not their main source of information and where they go for treatment because they're just out of the country. And so hearing from them and hearing their perspectives has been really helpful too. And then I went to the the MBIA family conference this past May, and that was an incredible experience. I think it only happens once every 2 years. When we got our diagnosis, I think it had just happened the week before. Yeah, we did not get to attend, and same timing for you.
Yeah.
But I would encourage you to go to the next one. And it's just, the relationships. I mean, you and I have a relationship and we've never met in person, but we share a very, very close bond, and you're going to share that with a lot of people. And when you go to those conferences, and it's comforting to just know you're,
Mhm.
yeah.
It means a lot when you're a rare disease parent and you get your diagnosis to have a community there for you. And so you're kind of having to do that now for PKAN. And the generations of babies that are born later and the families that will get a diagnosis will then have you and won't be so afraid. So it's, yeah, you're doing the heavy lifting right now.
We did it all.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me more about the gene therapy, about the research that's going on, and kind of where you're at.
Yeah. So right now we just finished the preclinical studies, the safety and toxicology studies in the mice. So we're nearing the end of phase two of the project. If you look on our website, I think I've broken it out into 4 phases. And we're just about ready to give the next round of funding to begin phase three, phase four. The phases they can run in parallel to one another. So we are about to start the large mammal trial, which it involves 3 monkeys that will get the gene therapy, and they don't have PKAN. It's just entirely a safety study just to make sure that it will be safe to put into a human being, into their brain. It's not something necessarily that the FDA would require, but just based on UMass's experience and having done this in several other disorders, it's just recommended because we anticipate that it's something that the FDA is going to want to see. So we're being proactive about it to try and move it faster. And then simultaneously, we're doing the pre-IND to the FDA and working on the clinical trial design. And so all things, fingers crossed. I mean, luckily there was some funding that had been given from MBIA for a doctor that had started building out that gene therapy vector early on, and she ended up leaving the research, and that was given to OHSU. And so we were already ahead of the game there because we had the starting point. And knock on wood, but the science has gone very well. I think we all know that in these types of things, there can be unexpected things that happen, or it might not work the way that we would anticipate. And that has not been the case for us. There was maybe one short kind of 3 month delay where we were looking at to make sure everything was working correctly. But outside of that, everything has been on track. So assuming we've raised $2 million and we need to raise the additional 3. And so from our perspective, the one thing that will hold up the timeline is not having the funds. And as we go into these 2 phases, that's where we need the most money, because the development of the human grade vector is extremely expensive. And so the quicker we can raise the remaining 3 million, the quicker we can stay on track. And I mean, hopefully we're Q4 2026 first in human dose. So a year from now, a little over a year from now would be the goal.
That is amazing. What is the most effective way, like like for fundraising that what are the things that y'all have done, and what's been most successful?
From a foundation's perspective, I can say, Montana, we have a great community. We're a small state. I definitely feel like I have captured kind of everyone within my circle that I can. And so we have lots of friends, family, Montanans that have contributed to our project. I've done a golf tournament. I'm from Missoula, which is a couple hours away, and I live in Bozeman now. So in Missoula, we did a golf tournament last year and this year. And then I did a gala for a cure that we did. The initial one was last October, and then we're doing another one this October. That gala, we netted just over $260,000 for that event. And so I'm hoping the goal is to double it this year. But those have really been the primary sources, coupled with it's been crowdfunding. So donations, the reach is it's getting bigger. And I think, Kate, like that's where you've been amazing because I am not good at the things that you're good at. And so getting that word out, it's always been my hope that we would have some sort of a national reach. I think
Mhm.
about, okay, I'm just going to get on the Today Show and then it'll go viral and we'll just make all of the money very quickly because everyone will donate $5 or whatever it is. And it just hasn't happened that way for me, but those aren't necessarily my talents. I'm better at more of just the fundraising and putting all of the policies and the teams together behind the scenes. I'm also not very good at asking people for money. And so when it comes to, I've done some work on, building out a nonprofit and I am not, turns out, the development director. I cannot go to someone with a straight face or comfortably and say, okay, I need you to give me $3 million. And so that part of it has been more difficult for me. And so I've had to rely on, these other ways. And it's coming in, I think, each day. I mean, I think I got a notification that we made 47, almost $47,000 from PayPal Giving Fund this past month. And so, I mean, it keeps getting bigger and bigger. It just hasn't been at the pace that I had initially hoped for, which was in my mind like a month, we're going to raise it all.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
it's better. And you've done a really great job, Kate, in like such a short amount of time in spreading the word and raising the awareness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've been very lucky with, we had my husband was the one that started the GoFundMe, only because we both don't like to deal with people's money. We didn't want to take money in and then somehow get it to you guys. And one night he just said, I went on GoFundMe, I was able to direct everything to the Loving Loic Foundation, and I started this GoFundMe. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, he didn't even discuss anything with me. And then I had made the Instagram, and I'm like, let's just do it. And our support system has been amazing. We had people reach out to us. So we had that article go out. We had our local newspaper, and people have been donating from that. So in a month, I think we're at like $52,000, which surpasses what I thought of. My husband was like, we're going to get $100 and I'm going to be so embarrassed. And I'm like, it's $100 closer. It doesn't matter. And within a month, $52,000. So we just keep sending out the links, and very important that people know that if they work for a qualified employer, that they'll match their donation. So his friend works for Verizon and they're matching his donation. So it's just important that all the different ways that you can get people to donate. So it's been amazing.
That
We're
is
almost
amazing.
done.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, get this girl on the Today Show because I'm
Right.
telling you what, because I
I would
mean,
not be good on the Today Show. My husband would be amazing. He can talk to anybody. Me, I'm like, I was freaking out for this podcast for like a week.
stop. You're doing fine. You're doing great. No, really, truly though. I mean, it's like it's very to your point, Sherine, like it's very hard. Like you think you're around like, okay, like we're just gonna like get the word out and then we'll, a news story is gonna pick it up. And like it's hard. Like you have to
Mhm.
hustle and you have to like put stuff out there and constantly be like reminding people like, hey, this is still going on.
Mhm.
So yeah, no, I mean the whole thing that we've been going through with getting Elamipritide approved and trying to get the FDA to listen to us, like, I mean, I have been like DMing Savannah Guthrie like nobody's business, like, hey, you want to come on the Today Show? But I think, Shireen, you brought up San Filippo, and we actually became friends with Saving Sadie Ray's family. And there's a lot going on with rare disease right now with the FDA and with, treatments and gene therapies and things. I'm like, we have a friend, well, not friend, but a reporter who now is a friend who did a story for us for NBC.com. And I'm like, I'm just gonna send him a text after this because I think like if I mean, he did a really great job with that write up. And I'm like, you need to take on PKAN now. And then also like, let's get on the Today Show here because you
Mhm.
guys need to be on it and we need to continue fundraising and get things moving because um like you said, urgency. There's
Yeah.
so much urgency around this. And it's as a fellow parent of a different rare disease, I understand that. And it's um something that I think like you don't necessarily get until you've like had to experience that feeling of like my baby or my child is going to be taken away from me because of this disease. And so, yeah, no, we need to get you on the Today Show. Stat. Yeah. But that's awesome to hear about the fundraising. I'm glad that like people have been like so receptive and so helpful. And it does kind of restore your faith in humanity a little bit when you have something like this where you see that people will like show up for you. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Gilbert.
Yeah,
Show
it's
up
very
and
heartwarming.
yeah, and support you. That's awesome. And the butterflies. I'm like on the butterflies. I just have to like ask my daughter which color she wants.
Yeah. It's so sweet the way that people just come to, and I'm friends with her from work, but for her to take that on and make butterflies in her honor, I was crying, sobbing over that the other night, seeing everybody post their butterflies. And we're doing family photos tonight. And that's a girl that is doing that for us tonight. She offered that. And we had another girl do embroidery for us. It's insane what people, they just show up. You don't ask them to, they just are there.
Yes, and everyone kind of can leverage their talents, right? Like, so even though you said, Sherine, like, I'm not really one to get on social media, like, once everybody collaborates together, it's like you leverage whatever you're really good at, and
Yeah.
it starts to make things click and happen and get together. So,
And it takes you out of your comfort zone because I was not a TikTok person. I would post, stupid videos here and there. And then when I was like, these people, there was another creator that made like $260,000 in a month for her son. And I was like, all right, I need to that's it. I'm going to do it. And I put myself out there. Me crying on video the other night, I did not expect myself to get emotional over it. I was like, I'm just going to tell the story. And then I'm sobbing. And I'm like, but this is what people want. They want to see you be raw and real. And it's a weird curiosity, I guess. But if this is what's going to save my baby's life, then I just have to do it. It takes you out of your comfort zone. You just do it. I'll do whatever.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like there's no other option, really.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I relate to that crying thing because I did
Oh,
like I didn't so when we got news in the beginning of August that like we were potentially be cut off from Gilbert's medicine in September because the FDA just hadn't approved it and the company was running out of funding. And so I was like, I need to post about this because I literally had said something like the Friday before that like we thought we were in a good place. And I didn't know what else to like post. So I just like filmed myself talking about it and I completely broke down and I was like, that is the video that has gotten the most
yeah.
views. It's like,
Just people relate to that.
yeah.
It, you can talk about your child and they're so cute and they have these challenges, but until they understand and see you, like, I'm begging for my child's life, it just, and it, I'll do whatever. So, whatever it takes.
Yeah. Well, we're doing it. It's happening.
We all
Like,
are. Yep.
like Sherine said, 2026.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
doing humans.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very exciting. Yeah, well, I mean, I think yeah, it's been nice talking to lots of different rare disease parents, and it's nice to hear there definitely seem to be like these different stages of kind of where different groups are in terms of like, treatment development and whatnot. And, there's another mom I talked to early on, whose son has PPA2, which is like a different mitochondrial. So she was talking about they're like at the stage where they found each other, right, on social media, but then kind of getting the nonprofit off the ground and then finding researchers like you're talking about, Sherine, like getting connected with the people who are going to be doing the research for the therapies. So, yeah, it's nice to hear that, especially with PKAN being as scary as it is and as like just the prognosis is incredibly heartbreaking. Being able to hear that you guys do have something really far along in the works and that you know the large animal studies is huge. That's really exciting. So I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. I will say too, there was a clinical trial done by OHSU on another compound called CoAZ that has been submitted to the FDA for a petition for approval as a medical food. And so there's Loving Loic has been working with them to see if there's ways that we can help facilitate and move that along more quickly. And then Montana recently passed a law. Ironically enough, being a lawyer, I should have known about it long before it passed, but um, there was a bill that came into effect that if there's been a drug that's been through a phase 1 clinical trial and it's passed the safety test, you can give it in Montana without FDA approval.
Wow.
And that's a huge step in a right direction for folks like us in rare disease communities. I'm working with the senator that sponsored that bill on developing some of the regulatory language because it really has to be done right in order for it to work. And we don't want to be taken out of effect at our next session. So there's things that we're doing where we're trying to not just gene therapy, but move the ball forward in all ways. Especially because, I mean, gene therapy, it's so expensive. The timeline for it and getting everyone the treatment it's unknown. And so we need to find answers in the interim, which we're working on too.
Yeah, can you tell me a little bit about what the food related therapy is?
Yeah, so CoAZ, PKAN, the disease works, it's the inability in the basal ganglia in the brain to process coenzyme A. And coenzyme A is metabolized by B5. And this is my very basic understanding of me reiterating this to you. So, B5 and how that metabolic process works within the cell, it ends up, when it's not working, you end up with the iron accumulating in the mitochondria or in the systolic part of the cell and not in the mitochondria where it needs to be. And so CoAZ is a compound known as 4-phosphorpantethine, which is a derivative of B5 that it's one of the ways that B5 is broken down in the cell. And so if you can get to that smaller molecule, the idea is it could then cross the blood-brain barrier to hopefully intercept the dysfunction in the metabolic process where it is happening. Versus, like, if you or I take B5 right now, that molecule does not cross the blood-brain barrier and doesn't go to where it needs to go. And so the hope is that by taking that as a daily treatment, just like you or I would take any other vitamin or supplement, that you would intercept the dysfunction in that process and correct it. And I haven't seen the data from that clinical trial. It hasn't been published, but they suggested at the family conference and in all of my conversations with OHSU that statistically, it seemed to show that the biomarkers in the children that were taking it improved, and it was dose dependent. So the higher the dose, the better the improvement. And so hopefully, and I think the reason it has to go through FDA doesn't need to approve medical foods. That's not a process. Medical foods, so long as they meet the statutory requirements under the Orphan Drug Act, you can give it. But because this had already been in a clinical trial, I think everyone wants to make sure that it wouldn't be treated as a drug that didn't have FDA approval. So by getting that blessing, and it's what the FDA has encouraged OHSU to do as kind of the quickest way to get it there and to get it to our kids. So it is in the works, and I'm hopeful. And there's some other research teams that are working on a different compound that looks promising in other MBIA disorders in addition to PKAN. So hopefully that one too will be, that's kind of early stages, but in the next couple of years, there might be a clinical trial surrounding that one as well.
Nice. It's good to hear that there's like quite a few different things that are in the works, and that, yeah, I mean, like you said, gene therapy is expensive and there's a lot that goes into it. So to have things in the interim that you can also be doing to improve quality of life and to, stave off progression of the disease in any way that's possible, that's really good. Yeah, well, and the FDA have become very well versed in things FDA. So,
Yeah.
and Commissioner McCary likes to talk a lot about rare diseases and about, new ideas for how to accelerate approvals and things. So, I think we could be at a very exciting precipice for all of that. So, yeah, that is really exciting. I always forget this is like the last question we ask, but we've talked about, lots of different things. And, there is a lot that is really hard about having a child with a rare disease. But what would you say is something that has been something good that has come out of this for you?
I think it has just made me cherish every moment with her. There's not a day that goes past that I am not thankful for her. Every picture, every video, it has just we we're so grateful for the time that we have for her. It has brought our family closer. It has brought me and my husband closer, and just cherish the time that you have because you never know when it's going to be taken from you. And I felt like postpartum, I kind of took that for granted of I can't wait to get out of the trenches, as they say, the newborn trenches. And at first, she wasn't a great sleeper and she wasn't a great eater, and it felt like I just can't wait to get out of this. Whereas now I'm like, I wish I could go back. I wish I could experience everything all over again, and has really made me. It humbled me for sure, but I'm thankful for that.
I mean, similarly, I would say a lot of the same. I think for me, it's incredibly heartbreaking to think about Loic having to go through this. Like, he, as an innocent child, is the last person that deserves this. And when you hear about how painful and how horrible this disease is specifically, and him becoming basically a prisoner in his own body, like, I just could not wrap my mind around ever letting that happen to him. And because of all of this, I mean, I now have community that I never knew I had. My life has an entirely different purpose and a much more meaningful purpose than I ever had before. And I mean, I'm in a profession where I help people. It's a different, I'm a litigator and I'm an attorney that actively engages in lawsuits all the time. And a lot of people's kind of worst days that I'm involved with. And it's really put a lot of things into perspective that it's really not, those things aren't as bad as it could be. And living day to day, I mean, each moment, everything is more important. I'm grateful for everything. And this happened to us for a reason. And it's to hopefully stop it from happening to any other kids in the future because we're going to find the cure.
I love that.
Yes, well said. What a great note to end on. Well, I thank you guys both for coming on here. This has been so nice to get to talk to you. And I think for me, this is probably one of the things that I feel has become a positive out of this is just getting to meet other rare moms and other rare families. And it is heartbreaking why we're all here, but it is such an incredible community, such a resilient community, and parents who we just don't take no for an answer, really. We just will not give up on our kids. So thank you so much. And I will be sure to link everything in this episode so people can find all the resources and ways to support. And look forward to staying in touch with you both because I'm excited to see the journey. I'm excited to see this cure come down the line. So
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. It was incredible. Thanks for all you're doing.
Yeah, of course. All right. Well, it was good to talk to you, and we'll be in touch.
Great. Bye, Gilbert.
He's like, bye.
Bye.